due to security, but also just to blockages from rubble, etc., and unexploded munitions.
For Gaza's citizens, the deadly waiting game means lifelines are fast running out. The Palestinian Health Ministry says hospitals are collapsing without fuel. And the World Food Programme warns that shops in Gaza will run out of food in mere days.
There is no water. There is no water at all. Medicines for children, food, drinking. There are no supplies at all in the Gaza Strip. It's not just me. All of the Gaza Strip is suffering. All of the families in Gaza are suffering.
Becky Anderson, CNN, Tel Aviv.
With us now from Cairo is Dr. Richard Brennan, Regional Emergency Director for the World Health Organization. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, so, well, the US President talked up this agreement to allow very limited assistance across from Egypt into Gaza. Damage to the Rafah crossing means it'll be at least Friday, they say, before a convoy of trucks are allowed in. Just 20 at first. If Hamas takes it, it'll be the last convoy. The roads need to be repaired. The Egyptians want security guarantees for those repair workers. It seems there are so many ways this deal could be undone before it even begins. Are you concerned it could be a non-starter?
Well, we hope it's not a non-starter, but as you say, there's a lot of complexities to getting this aid operation going. We've got to get those first 20 trucks across. Roads need to be repaired, as you indicated. One of the conditions that we'd agreed on with the Egyptian government was that the supplies would be taken to the border by the Egyptian Red Crescent, not by the United Nations, and then transferred over to colleagues from the Palestinian Red Crescent, who would then go on with the distributions in Gaza. And that's the challenge. There are major disruptions to the infrastructure, as you've indicated, with the roads. We've got to make sure that the both parties to conflict respect the convoys as they distribute aid throughout Gaza. We've got to get up to North Gaza, to hospitals, to these schools and collective centers where thousands of people are congregated. And so we need those security guarantees so the supplies can be delivered where they're needed most.
4,000 dead, almost. More than 12,000 wounded. More than 1 million displaced. 20 trucks. Do the math here. I mean, this is just, it's a big one, right?
Yeah, well, it's a start. I guess that's the absolute best we could say. Now we understand as you're probably aware, the head of the UN's humanitarian organization has been in town here speaking with the president of Egypt. We hope to get up to 100 trucks a day. So we've got to rapidly scale up that assistance. We as WHO and other UN agencies, we're bringing in as much aid as we can, but ultimately it's the political decision makers that have got to give us that access. So we continue to do our best on the advocacy level, but you're absolutely right. We have to scale up massively. And we've got to remember, John, this is not a sprint. This is just the start. This is a marathon, an absolute marathon. We're hearing figures now. People only have 3 liters of clean water per person per day. Absolute minimum, you usually need 15 liters. That's to cover things like drinking, cooking, just very, very, very basic hygiene. This isn't flushing toilets or having showers or that.
Hospitals in Gaza are not just treating thousands of wounded. Morgues and hospitals are overflowing. Most are now home to thousands of Palestinians with nowhere else to go. I want you to listen to Dr. Hassan Abu Sayed, head of pediatrics at the Kamal Adwan Hospital in northern Gaza. Here he is.
This is a situation in our hospitals now very, very bad. No water, no electricity, no medication, no medical supplies. I am sorry, I cannot speaking with you because we have weak internet in our hospital, and we are in emergency, and all time working under stress because the situation is very, very, very bad.
His hospital did not evacuate from northern Gaza to the south despite Israeli orders to leave. Here's how reporting from Time magazine on Monday put the story. There are 7 newborns in the ICU hooked up to ventilators, he said. We cannot evacuate. That would mean death for and other patients under our care. Patients keep arriving with severed limbs, severe burns, other life-threatening injuries. It's frightening. This seems like a living hell for medical workers right now. Beyond the lack of electricity, dwindling medical supplies, they're caught in the middle of an active war zone.
Yeah, I mean, it's catastrophic. There's no better word for it than that. As you rightly say, the hospitals and the clinics have really been depleted. Right now, 4 hospitals are completely non-functional with the 35 hospitals across Gaza. Around 2/3 of clinics are non-functioning. Even the hospitals that are operating, as you've indicated, lack of water, lack of fuel, lack of medicines, completely overworked staff. Huge patient loads, huge numbers of trauma patients with very complex injuries. Women are continuing to have babies. We've got those babies in the incubators. Patients with other medical conditions are still needing treatment for their high blood pressure, their heart disease, their kidney dialysis. So the extra load on the health workers is just enormous. And to think that you could evacuate a hospital that has so many critically ill patients over broken roads in an insecure environment down to the south where hospitals are already overwhelmed, you've got nowhere to take these patients. It's just a completely unrealistic expectation, and we really do have to take our hats off to these heroic health workers. I've seen these guys work under incredibly difficult circumstances. What they're doing for their people is absolutely heroic.
Well, I just want to say 12,000 wounded over 12 days in Gaza, 1,000 on average every day. This has got to be unprecedented. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
If you'd like to help out with humanitarian relief efforts for Gaza and Israel, please head to cnn.com/impact. There you will find a list of vetted organisations already in operation on the ground in Gaza as well as Israel. That's at cnn.com/impact. We will take a short break. When we come back, the deadly hospital blast in Gaza triggers international outrage and protests erupting against Israel across the Middle East and beyond. That's just ahead as our special coverage continues.
This wasn't no bear. It was like a bear squatch.
Dad, what's a bear squatch?
It's a cross between a bear and a sass. It's made up. He's usually sleeping.
He'll never sleep again.
Why is just a starting line for the true self blooms? Only when we find our purpose. It's a million faces in a mirror, and everyone belongs. Find your why for a better us.
Dry skin is sensitive skin too, and it's natural. Treat it that way. Aveeno Daily Moisture with prebiotic oat is proven to moisturize dry skin all day. You'll love our formula for face too. Aveeno.
When I was flying, I used to love sitting on the ramp. It's that wind in your face experience. And being on the recumbent kind of brought that back. RPG came through the belly of the aircraft. I'm not sure I would still be here if I didn't find the Friends and Warrior project that I did. We don't talk about the female combat wounded. These are our daughters and our sisters and our mothers. I got on the bike and I tried it out. It felt a lot like flight, and I felt like I got a piece of me back. In that moment, I was like, this is it. I'm unstoppable. You know, I can do anything. The truth is, I think we all have this strength inside of us, but until you're tested, you just don't know it's there.
New projects means new project managers. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job, you immediately get your short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job criteria. Visit Indeed.com/hire and get started today.
The new CNN Prime Time is where the truth shines. The day's biggest stories. The night's most essential reporting. This is the new CNN Prime Time. Weeknights starting at 7 on CNN.
You want to see a trick?
Sure.
Newsroom. Back now to our continuing coverage of the war in Israel. US President Joe Biden has publicly supported Israel's claims that a rocket misfired by the militant group Islamic Jihad was the cause of a deadly blast at a hospital in Gaza City. Hamas officials in Gaza say an Israeli airstrike hit the hospital, killing 471 people. President Biden, who just returned to the US from Israel last hour, is now planning a prime-time address Thursday to make the case for continued funding for both Israel as well as Ukraine. Before arriving in Washington, Biden was asked about what he would say to those who still believe an Israeli airstrike is to blame for the hospital explosion.
I can understand why in this circumstance they wouldn't believe. I can understand that. But I would not, you notice I don't say things like that unless I have faith in the source from which I've gotten. I don't know all the detail, but I do know the people at the Defense Department who I respect, and the intelligence community that I respect. It's highly improbable that Israel did that.
In the immediate aftermath of the blast, protests erupted across the Middle East and beyond. Thousands in Beirut gathered outside the Israeli embassy, some attempting to storm the gates. Lebanon was not alone. Protesters across the region vented day here in CNN's Samara Kanashe has more details in this report again, which contains some disturbing images.
From the West Bank to Baghdad, Beirut, Tunis, Tehran, Istanbul, Amman, and other cities across the region, thousands took to the streets saying enough is enough. Images out of Gaza's Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital were just too much to bear. A place of healing, a place to shelter from the indiscriminate violence, was no sanctuary for those trapped in this hell on earth. Palestinian officials say it was an Israeli strike to blame for this catastrophic loss of life. Israel strongly denied the accusation and said the blast was caused by failed rockets fired by the Palestinian militant group Islamic Jihad. Israel's statements rang hollow for those who've been watching bombs rain down on Gaza and its civilian casualties rising day after day. Israel's friends and foes across the region swiftly blamed it and condemned what they say was a massacre, a war crime. Jordan, one of America's closest allies in the region, a country home to millions of Palestinians, canceled a summit of Arab leaders with the U.S. president it was hosting on Wednesday. As thousands poured into the streets and security forces used tear gas to push back the protesters who tried to reach the Israeli embassy in Amman. Their rage also directed at the U.S. Protesters waved their shoes in the air for President Joe Biden, they said, as they chanted, "Americans get out." Jordan's Crown Prince Al-Hussein posting this Instagram story. Israel is responsible for this, quote, massacre. The Western world can no longer claim morality if they continue these double standards, he wrote. For days, Jordan's King Abdullah has been warning the situation in the region may soon get out of control.
The whole region is at the brink of falling into the abyss that this new cycle of death and destruction is pushing us towards. The threat of this war expanding is real. The cost this will bring on all of us is too much to bear.
And that threat is getting more real by the day, as Iran and its proxies who span Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon signaling they will not sit back if the bloodshed persists. Every painful scene out of Gaza is making it harder to contain the anger, pushing the Middle East closer and closer to the brink. Jumana Karache, CNN, London.
The two besties, authoritarian leaders of Russia and China, seem to be making the most of the bloodshed in Israel as well as Gaza. Vladimir Putin is in Beijing this week for Xi Jinping's Belt and Road Summit, but it's the crisis in the Middle East which seems to be a new reason to chastise the United States and its Western allies as a way of creating a new world order in their own image. Here's CNN's Will Ripley.
Russian President Vladimir Putin, an accused war criminal in the West, a guest of honor in Beijing. Chinese President Xi Jinping feasting with a fellow strongman, triumphantly toasting their vision of a new world order. A world prioritizing Palestinians over Western-backed Israel, pitting the Putin-Xi world against the US-led free world. Russia and China refusing to strongly condemn the Hamas attack. Putin placing blame on the US for the conflict, not Hamas gunmen. who also took Russian lives. Both Beijing and Moscow criticizing Israel's actions, condemning Tuesday's deadly hospital blast. The Palestinians say hundreds died. Russia calling it an act of dehumanization, urging Israel to prove its innocence. China says Israel played a part in provoking Palestinian rage. Decades of diplomacy without a two-state solution.
Israel has the right to establish a state. Palestine has the right to establish a state as well.
China's heavily censored social media overflowing with pro-Palestinian posts, and plenty of anger aimed at Israel and the U.S. One user writes, "The only way to get peace in the Middle East is for the Jews to move to America and build a nation there." President Xi welcomed Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in June, part of Beijing's bid for a bigger role in Mideast diplomacy and its desire to reshape the U.S.-led world order. Building on the historic deal it brokered this year, restoring ties between Iran and Saudi Arabia. China says it's sending a special envoy to the Middle East to help with a political settlement. China and Russia now calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, positioning themselves as possible peacemakers, both ignoring the irony of Putin's own brutal war, spilling blood on the battlefields of Ukraine. Far from the front lines, the leaders and representatives of some 140 nations are expected here in the Chinese capital. Leaders of key Western allies noticeably absent. A perfectly timed distraction from Putin's problems at home. Parading himself before flocks of friendly state media outlets. Putin's heaping praise on China's powerful leader and Russia's loyal patron, Xi Jinping.
He makes long-term plans for the future. It's what differentiates the true world leaders from what we call temps. Temps only show off on the world stage for about 5 minutes before becoming lost to world history.
Putin and Xi, possibly leaders for life, predicting a global power shift, the decline of democracy, the rise of strongman rule. Will Ripley, CNN, Beijing.
Well, he lost on Tuesday by 20 votes, then again on Wednesday by 22. So why is US Republican Congressman Jim Jordan vowing to push on with his bid to be elected House Speaker? Are those chickens finally coming home?
I just found the biggest weight loss hack for y'all. The truth is there is no quick fix, but there is a more effective way to lose weight, and it isn't what you think. It's actually Noom. It's 2 times more effective than doing it on your own. Get started right now by taking the Noom quiz.
Chris Domine is a husband and a father.
Russia's and China's zest to become the new world order is a laugh. A song by Paul Beckman, Polly Rainbow Song. Also, the new and first leader of humankind in the free world. Created October 18th, 2023. Let's hope that doesn't come into fruition. Well, you just saw the video news report about Russia and China vowing to become a new world order. Before you, saying they had long-range plans they could make because they were dictators for life, whereas all other leaders in the world are only just temps. That's right. Well, I'll tell you, that's a laugh. Yeah, I think it's a laugh. A laugh, 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 laugh. Let's hope it doesn't come into fruition. Russia's and China's zest to become the new world order and replace the West. Russia's and China's zest to become the best, the new world order that will replace the West. It's a laugh. It's a laugh. It's a laugh. Yes, there may be troubles now in the West, in this world. Yes, we may have our upsets and our good days and our bad days, in a word. But give me freedom any day, and I'll respect it. I want it, so I can be myself. Do not want to live in a prison made by Russia or China, and live in a living hell, where you can't complain about the food, can't complain about the place, can't complain about the leaders, or even the human race. Can't complain about anything, and how you have become a slave, slave, slave. I don't want to live in a new world order of China and Russia, and how they would orchestrate and make it up, the makeup of it would just be awful. Awful, I tell you, awful, awful, awful. It's a laugh, that's all you can do. It's a laugh, I'm laughing at you. Yeah, what they may want, he'll never have, because people respect and love only one thing in this world: freedom. That's why democracy will always stay alive, thrive. Democracy and freedom, that's the only way to live. That's the only way to be. China and Russia establishing a new order in this world. That's so loud. China and Russia establishing a new order in this world. It's a laugh. I'm laughing at you because it will never come to pass. Laughing at you because it will never, never come to pass. I'm laughing at you because it will never, never love, never, never come to pass. Wanna know why? Because people don't want to live in suppression and slavery. Wanna know why? Because they want to be able to be dissenters and protest. See? Wanna know why? Because people have to have one thing in this world. Besides water, besides food, they need freedom. Yes, they need democracy, so they can express and be free. Free as a bird. Again, that song was by Paul Beckman, Paul the Rainbow Song, also the new and first leader of humankind in the free world. Please go to Internet Solutions and Songs 24-7 at Palu Rainbow Song bio on YouTube. Look for a playlist called Movie Song Reviews by Palu. From there, look for any videos or song videos that are in the category of a special note. That'll give you an explanation of my mainstay name, Paul Beckman, New Age name, Palu Rainbow Song, as well as an explanation of my utterance, also the new and first leader of humankind in the free world, and many other things of interest that apply. Thank you very much. Namaste. I honor the divine in all.